And it looks like we are live. Yes, at last I've got a reason to wear my earpods. Those of you who watch these sessions will probably comically reflecting that I wear these earpods every time that I'm on these sessions. There's no need, of course, when there's nobody else here. But it's like a comfort blanket in my ears, so I just wear them anyway. But we are here today. Fantastic. Welcome to Thank Flip. It is Friday. It's demonstrably Friday. And it's 4 o'clock in the UK. So wherever you are, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're watching this on Facebook in the group, particularly welcome to you there. If you're watching it on LinkedIn, it's streaming live there. So hello, linkers. If you're watching it on Twitter, why? Get out of Twitter. And in the extremely unlikely event that you're watching it on YouTube, thanks to StreamYard for multicasting it all over the bleeding place. I'll tell you what I'm actually going to do. I'm going to encourage you to say hello in the comments. And we've got a beautiful comment here from Sue, love you lots, from Jeff. Now we've got 2 other comments here. Can you see on the screen? It says Facebook user, Facebook user. There is a cure for that, and the cure is as follows. What I want you to do is to go to, have a look on the bottom of the screen here, streamyard.com/Facebook. Streamyard.com/Facebook. Go there, give StreamYard permission to display your Facebook name. It's some of this privacy nonsense, you know, with iOS and all the rest of it. So streamyard.com/Facebook. There's just one button to click, literally one button to click, and it will hook up your Facebook account. Nothing nasty. It'll just display your name so we know the bloody hell you are a Facebook user. But howdy anyway. David Andrews here, he knows how to do it. Namaste. What does it you do? Namaste. Namaste. Rita knows how to do it. Well done, Rita. Coralie knows how to do it. Tell you a little story about Coralie. Coralie and I were in the same villa for 4 days last week. And Coralie lives in Washington State, up in Oregon or somewhere. It's up there, isn't it? And we were all in Arizona together last week. It was fabulous. So here up, Facebook user after no. But please go to streamyard.com/Facebook. It says on the bottom there. Give it permission to display your Facebook name, and then we'll all be happy. We'll know who you are. But great to see you all here. We have an expanding audience, and most importantly, my old pal Ed is here. How are you, Mr. Pearson?
Very well, thank you, Johnny.
Ed's one of those maniacs who swims in cold water. Why? Have you been doing that this winter? You've been ice swimming?
I haven't managed to go cold water swimming too much this year, but I normally go all through the winter at least once or twice a week to embrace the cold, your warm friend. But yeah, I've been doing it for absolutely donkey's years, even before it was fashionable.
I know you have, yeah. In fact, I think you taught Wim Hof, didn't you?
Yeah, it taught me everything you know.
Well, look, there's a mission statement for the ages from lovely Sue. I enjoy hanging out on Friday afternoons. It's always fun and useful. That's what we try and make it. Life should be fun, shouldn't it? And it should definitely be useful. Definitely be. We always try and be useful. Ed, do you want to say? I know you're not known to be particularly concise, but can you give us a golden sentence about what you do and who you do it for?
I'm a business coach. I do.
Yeah, that's not a golden sentence. That's about you. Tell us about them.
I work with overwhelmed, struggling business owners who have maybe lost their way and maybe even the love for their business when I first meet them. And they usually typically turning over about 1 to 8 mil. And they realise there's a bit more to life, but they've forgotten that bit. And then I go and get hold of them by the scruff of the neck and we go and create stuff together. So I've been doing that for over a decade now. Yeah,
no, yeah, and it's fun, isn't it? Because you work with a wide variety of businesses, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, crikey, yeah. Everybody says, what sector you're in? I'm like, crikey, you should meet all my clients. They're so, you name it, I've worked with them and still do.
Well, I often say, when you get to a certain point with your business, the concept of ultra niching isn't as useful as it was when you were starting out, because what actually happens is you get a reputation, don't you? And so somebody was saying to me the other day, well, Tony Robbins doesn't have a niche. I said, well, yeah, his niche is being Tony Robbins. That's his niche, isn't it? And if you want Tony Robbins, there's only one place to get it, isn't it, from Tony Robbins? And I guess you've kind of got to that point a little bit by reputation, haven't you, and word of mouth and all that kind of thing.
I was fortunate and worked bloody hard to get in front of, I don't know, about 300 or 400 business owners within an organisation. I was part of the senior management team, and I got known for that. And if I just push myself out there on social media, they go, I remember him, or others tell others about me, and I get introductions.
Yeah. So Jeff Brown's a wimp in your book, then? Who wears a wetsuit?
Yeah. I'm not going to say anything against it.
I've got it in my mind that I actually saw you once when you were doing it. I think probably what I did, I met you in Sutton Park, and you were just coming from having done it. But are you one of these people who greases your body up with lard, like they did when they just run the channel?
Only in private. No, I just get in there, mate. Honestly, once you get used to it, I mean, the first few times are a bit tough, I'm not going to lie, but once you're used to cold water, there's an amazing feeling. So
is this an enduring get used to then? So if you went back in cold water now, you'd still be used to it because your body's...
so you get a climate. Right, so there's brown and white fat in your body. The brown fat's the really good stuff. And what happens when you go cold water swimming, the brown fat sticks to all the major organs, protects you, really looks after your body. But that also protects you from the cold. So you build up that endurance. Over time, it swaps back. So
okay.
Keep it going.
Yeah. Well, I must admit, I've tried it. I tried the last 30 seconds in the shower. But we're just fingers on keyboards, folks. Lovely to have you all here. Tell us what you think to cold water showers / cold water swimming. Have you ever tried it? Does it work? I've tried it in the shower. Just the last 30 seconds, I'm cold, and I can't. I'm just running out the door.
I'm gonna fess up. I really struggle to do more than about 50 seconds in a cold shower, but I've been in at I've been at a 0.5 of 1 degree centigrade in water for 40 minutes. But in the shower, I can't do 50 seconds in the shower.
Aren't you close to death at that point, surely?
Only when you're getting out.
Cold water swimming, ladies and gentlemen, the Blue Tits. Amen to that. That's such a great name, isn't it? It's absolutely fantastic.
I think on the open water swimming group. There you go. See, Jeff knows.
Yeah, Jeff knows it. When you know, you know. Cold showers are great in the summer. Well, yeah, actually. I think I've had a cold shower in Spain where I've been baking in the sun kind of thing. No. But listen, let's not digress too much. We were just waffling for a bit just to let everybody get here. It's great to have you, and the comments thread is alive. We are going to be challenging you. If you are here today, we're going to challenge you to write some stuff in the chat. So keep your ears peeled, because we do want to kind of interact with all this. I'm with Coralie, actually. I know Coralie really well. And amen to that. So let's get on to it. What triggered this was an earlier discussion in the group this week, where I'd actually been inspired by a business coach called Carl Bryan. I don't know if you're familiar with him, Ed. He's a Canadian guy. He's a very funny guy, as well as a renowned business coach. But he posted the following, and I'll do my very best to share the screen on this. StreamYard does allow screen shares, but you've got to be quite specific. So here we go. So what I'm sharing here, if you can even see this, make it a bit bigger so you will be able to see it. What's going on here? I think I've shared the hell out of this and broken it. It's too big now. Where is my stream? Yeah, I've shared it too big and Facebook's complained, isn't it? So I'm going to make it smaller. Okay. Post. This was it here. And I'll read it to you if you can't see it. It says, why networking meetings suck. And Carl said, networking doesn't work if you pin a lame BNI style name badge on your chest and you speak for 2 minutes when it's your turn to a room full of broke people distracting themselves from hard work. That's quite funny. Distract themselves from hard work. So obviously we don't want to do that. If that was even an option, that is really not going to be the thing to do, is it?
No, wait, he's sort of got a point though, really, because if you follow that advice there, he's right. But there is another way to approach networking meetings, I believe.
Yeah, so we're going to dive into that now. What I promised you in the stream promo earlier was that we talk about the one thing. I think it literally is as simple as one thing. All these things, you can make lists of 10 ways to network and all that kind of thing. But the one thing that makes the flip, and if I'm reading your mind, Ed, this is about to stop compartmentalizing networking meetings and treat them as an entirely alien world that requires a completely different approach.
Yeah.
What you guys who are on the session today are all good at and familiar with is sales calls. I'm sure you've done sales calls, haven't you? And it's a process, so you go through the process of engagement, first of all, wherever they are in the community, where you see them for the first time. You might send them a little message and ask them how their life and times are rolling for them. And then on the basis of their response, you might suggest, look, let's have a quick chat, that will help. Let's just virtual coffee or something like that, see if I can share something useful, that kind of thing. And then you get them on a sales call, don't you? And then they'll buy or not based on how you perform and how the call goes. But I think if people don't treat networking meetings like that, they tend to switch that off, don't they? They just go and tuck into a greasy breakfast, swap business cards and go home. Yeah. I think what you're going to tell us about is how to align the thinking that you've got in your sales process with how you show up on a networking meeting.
So, I mean, well, I'm a huge fan of networking, I really am. But a lot of the network meetings, they lead the witness in many respects. So we'd probably all have the experience where you turn up and they go, have you been to one before? And you say yes or no, it doesn't really matter. And they'll go, and then somebody will go, want to be really helpful, and they genuinely want to be helpful. They go, well, let me help you. And then they go, when you come networking, first of all, you get to know the group, and then you get to build these relationships, and then and then we build up trust, and they paint the picture. That's the way it has to be. But actually, I'll fess up again. This is just a sales process for me in many respects. So I turn up then, and I start to think, well, this is what's got the thinking around it. It's like, what do people really love to talk about? Themselves, right?
Yes. WIIFM.
Now, they don't really want to know what I do. They might have a passing interest, but as soon as I think that I've got a problem going into a networking meeting.
Yeah, I always hated the business card swap, because every time I gave someone a business card, I 100% knew they weren't going to do anything with it. They were never going to call me. And I just remember that a business call cost me 8p every time. Listen, I tell you what, let's have a little pause, fingers on keyboards, because I want to hear from you if you're watching this live or even on the recording. It'll work. Tell us about your networking. First of all, tell us about the best experience you've ever had networking. What's the most success you ever had at a physical networking meeting? Just type a few words about the best success, the most glorious outcome you ever had at a networking meeting. If you haven't had one, tell us about the worst experience you've ever had. Yeah, what happened when you went to a networking meeting? And that tells whether you're a fan of networking meetings or you bloody hate them or you've never made any money from them. Just give us a couple of thoughts, as you did on the post in JHM this morning when I asked you pretty much the same question. So tell us how you got on at networking meetings. So Ed, you say go in there with a sales head. So let's say you were invited to a networking session for the first time. You walk into a bunch of people. And that's highly unlikely at this stage in your career, or mine for that matter. But let's say you walked in a room of strangers. You never met any of the people there. They didn't know you. What would be your approach? What would you do first?
Well, the classic is you walk in and typically, let's pick on there's always an accountant in the room, right? I don't know why, there always is, right? So
they love it. Well, everyone needs accountants, don't they, to be fair?
Yeah. So we walk in, and I said, walk in, and you stand there, and the first thing they do is they come over, they go, what do you do for a living? Because, they're there to network.
Yeah.
What I typically do is I go, you won't, I either say, you won't be interested, or I wave it away. And I do it comically. So I go,
that's nice, isn't it?
And I go, no, you won't be interested. Why? What do you do? Yeah. So, they want to talk about themselves, so I'm going to give them the opportunity. So I know that. So there's no barrier here. I'm going to get them to talk. They go, I'm an accountant.
Yes. So that's so much more powerful, isn't it? So I think that's the first part of this one thing. The one thing is to get them talking about themselves, right? Yeah. So the first part of doing that, and I've done this at several meetings that I've been to over the years. I'll walk in instead of going with my card held out. Can I give you my card? I'll just look somebody in the eye, shake them by the hand, say, hey, Jonny. And I'll say, what are you working on at the moment? What are you working on at the moment? What's the big project you've got at the moment? What do you do for your clients at the moment? And I get them to talk to me. And, as with all things, you've got a much better chance of actually gaining them as a client if the first step is having them open up about themselves, because you can then respond in a way that's useful.
Well, sort of. So that, because I've tried that. Now I've altered the approach slightly, because if you go, what's the project you're working on? This is the type of stuff, if you go out there's lots of stuff on this. Don't ask about the big project, the big dreams, where are they? It's not actually very helpful from a potential sales point of view. So I'm trying to work out whether or not you need me. So I'm gonna filter out whether or not you need my services. And if you don't, I'm going to let you move on and go network around the room. It comes from a place of love, not, it genuinely does. So the first thing I need them to do is I need to understand their pain points. So I don't just want to understand what they do. I want to know what their pain points are. So if you're an accountant, I'll have done a bit of homework before I go in there to find out who's potentially in the room.
Okay. So there's the nuance then. So they're not strangers to you necessarily.
No, now I will genuinely have done a bit of homework, and I'll have had this better prep. I know I knew I was coming on at 4 today, but here we go. I'll go, so you, what do you do for a living? I'm an accountant. Okay, that must be a fantastic job. You'll have clients just dropping in because they need your services. Once you, the paperwork just comes in because everybody knows when their tax returns are. And your staff must be a dream to manage because they're all business advisors, essentially. So I imagine...
You're just telling them all the things that you know are not true, aren't you?
So I go, so it must be your dream business, to which they go,
I wish.
Yeah. You go, really? Why? What's going on? So if we're role playing that, you go, so really what's going on? And they sit there and they say stuff like, it's quite difficult to get people to be to move accountants. And I go, really? And but you've got your staff sorted. No, honestly, they're a nightmare. They move, they come, they go. If everyone leaves, all their clients leave with them. Paperwork. Oh man, we're chasing people up for year end, and they never get it in on time. And 24 hours before deadlines, they expect us to turn it around. Absolute nightmare.
Yeah. I've often found myself doing that as well, telling them all the great things that their business must be, and then they'll tell you why it's not. Let's just have a look at some of the comments here. So. Nadine for coffee and cake and conversations.
Hello, Nadine.
Sounds like an afternoon session, doesn't it? The morning ones are.
I know, Nadine. Hi.
Breakfast and bacon and all that sort of thing. Corey met several like-minded people. That's the risk, isn't it? Do you know what? That's how everybody used to use LinkedIn. You used to build a network of people just like you. Yeah. And then when you thought, I haven't got any business, I wonder why that is. Okay. People just like me don't buy things from people just like me, do they? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, more friends and clients. Exactly. Never been to a networking event, but we network all the time, says HJM. And about in the community is fun. People want to be helped. Yeah, bingo. Don't they just? People want to be helped. Having connection issues. All right, Caroline. Sorry about that. Networking, working at mind, body, spirit events, and I'm a complementary therapist. Cool. Okay. And Nadine. Hey, Ed.
Hey, Nadine.
Oh, so you know Nadine, right? Okay.
Yeah.
We love Nadine. Nadine's so lovely.
It's cool.
Okay. Yeah, so we've got that as an approach. We've got that.
But we're
Do
going
you
to
think there's a risk there of coming off as a bit kind of know-it-all?
No, because if we've gone through that process, we're just going to bring that back together again. So you just go, well, what do you do? So and you go, oh, wow, that must be really cool. So you've described these problems, and they want to tell you. So they go, no, I've got this is happening, that's happening, that's happening. Oh, what's your biggest problem? And you just get into conversation with them. They will always, and they pretty much always do, time allowing, they go, what do you do for a living? And you go, would you believe me if I told you I help accountants with, and I just repeat back the stuff they've just told me of their problem.
I know.
Right?
And
I go, it sounds like we should be meeting. And they always go, yeah, we do. Great. Have you got your diary to hand?
Yeah. Button by the appointment there.
When I meet them, then what I've actually done is I've bypassed the traditional networking approach, which says I've got to learn everything about your business. You've got to learn everything about my business. We've got to find a way forward.
Build some trust over 6 months.
Yeah. No. Now I can walk in and go, when we met in the breakfast meeting, you told me you were having problems with.
Yeah, instantly. Yeah. So there's two really interesting things there, folks, that Ed's come up with. One of them is that you're treating the conversation like a discovery call. You know, you want to know about them so that you can then frame your offer in the context of what they've said is missing from their lives. You know, what they haven't got that they want, and what they've got they don't want. You know, the two sides of the coin. And then you can offer your services, if you like, or at least offer a conversation on the basis of what they've said. That's the first thing. You're tailoring your approach to what they've told you, and you're not going to get that from them, are you, unless you ask those right questions to start with. The second thing is that Ed's come up with is the no-brainer approach, which most people don't seem to do, of actually making a bloody appointment. Now, there's a thing that happens I call it the point of maximum excitement. Okay, when they're standing toe-to-toe with you, you've just told them that you can resolve all those issues. They're quite thrilled at that prospect, aren't they? But as soon as they leave the meeting, their desire and their recollection of what you talked about starts to wane, doesn't it? And if you leave it 2 days later and you call them up and you go, oh, hi, Ted, you know, we met at the networking meeting. Who? Oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah, I'm a bit busy at the moment. The chances of you getting a meeting at that point are vanishingly low. So strike while the iron's hot, hit them at the point of maximum excitement where they've actually bonded with you and they've gelled and they've agreed that those things are desirable for them. Make the bloody appointment then. I don't know why everybody doesn't do this, but the tendency at that point is just to give them a card and say, yeah, give me a call. And it's so weak, isn't it? It's such a weak way to leave a conversation. Yeah.
It's almost apologetically like, oh, yeah, I'm not sure.
Right, I have another question for you, please. As you're watching this live, this is not to Ed, this is to the our wonderful tribe who's watching this all over social media land. Can you just type very simply in the chat here, give us a number of the most you've ever earned in client fees, commissions, whatever, from one contact you made at a networking meeting? What's the most you ever earned from a contact that you made purely at a networking meeting? What's the biggest number you've ever earned, if you can recall? If it's zero, put zero. You remember what that number is? Just put the number in, and we'll.
It can't be zero. Breakfast costs about £10 or £12. It's a minus figure, so I just want to bear that. Unless you pay £12.
Minus 12, exactly. So, what's the most you've ever earned from a contact at a networking meeting? We'll be keen to hear that. And put pounds or dollars or whatever your local currency is, rupees if you like. So that's one approach, then, isn't it? So that's to. What I like about that, the example that Ed gave, by the way, if you just joined us, it approach an accountant and say, oh, you must be really busy. I love accountancy businesses. You know, everybody needs an accountant. Everyone puts all their tax returns in time for you, don't they? And what a dream it must be having all those wonderfully engaged staff who just know what they're doing all the time. I'm really jealous. I wish I had an accountancy business. How's it going for you? And you just wait for the accountant to go, I don't recognise my business in that. That's not me. That's not how it's going. Go on, fix on keyboards, folks. Type the biggest amount of commissions or fees or sales that you've ever made from one contact that you made at a networking meeting. So what else apart from that approach? What else has worked for you, Ed, in face-to-face networking?
Crikey. I'm not so sure about the other stuff. So I built, when we first met Jonny, the business I built up was off the back of networking. So early days, we used to just go and be very memorable. So we used to just do crazy stuff. Me and the guy that owned the business used to turn up at different meetings and then chuck
Is that Nigel?
No, a guy called Jeremy. This is before that one. But we'd purposely stand out and purposely draw fire as well in the meeting. Usually in a comical way, but they'd go. So you'd turn up. We used to have a tin hat. We used to share like the old, World War I tin hat types. So we used to put that on. We used to make jokes about it, and people would just go, "He's crazy," and people say, "Oh, he's just crazy. Ed is crazy," and that's what people still remember me for. Those, I was just a bit crazy, and those who work closely with me, they go, "You're not crazy. You're really dangerous."
I think a good one for you these days would walk in a pair of swimming trunks dripping cold water. Say, how'd you get here, Ed? Oh, I swam here.
Yeah, just canal next to the place we were at there.
We've got some numbers here, folks. So David Andrew, my good friend Mr. Andrew, has earned £467 from one client at a networking meeting. Hope that paid for your tea and coffee, mate. So here's one. Mine would be 0 based on paying for being and not getting returns for commission. Nigel. Okay.
Who's Nigel? That's interesting. We need to have a chat with him.
Yeah. So, come on. So in the lead at the moment with £467 is David Andrew. If you have earned some money from a single client at a networking meeting, put the number in there. See if you can beat David Andrews' £467. Who's earned more than £467 from a client that you met at a networking meeting? Come on, you guys. I know it's Friday afternoon, but we need some engagement.
I'll share mine if you like. I'm not here to.
Nadine wants to meet with you, by the way, so you're welcome.
So I've picked up a client using that technique, and he's been with me for a number of years now, and I would estimate that to have paid me about £160,000 to date.
So Ed's in the lead at 160k.
I'm hoping to hear that there's repeating elements to people's income here, because I really want people to do well out there, Jonny. Yeah. So,
well, I was dragged into 4N networking a few years back. I'm going to say this is 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
And I actually travelled out into Lincolnshire. What's that town in Lincolnshire now?
Lincoln?
Spalding, somewhere near there. Some name like that. Lincoln. No, Shire. That's it. And there I was. There was 8 people in the room.
Yeah.
And 2 people joined the CAB.
Cool.
So I've got to say today's prices, that's $6,000 each in it. So I'll stick my $12,000 in as direct revenue. So Facebook user, who are you? Well done for £1,800 from a client in a networking meeting. That's a good one. Who are you? Give us your name, because it says Facebook user. Can't tell who you are. Just put your name in the next comment, and I'll address you. David Andrew, having scored the fabulous level of £467, then lost faith in networking. Okay. We said we'd have some fun this afternoon, and that is definitely fun. I earned £467, and I thought, I'm off. That's it. So who are you, £1,800? Because you're in the lead at the moment. You're the new leader. What we're doing here, we're just playing a little game, which is called How Much Have You Earned from a Single Client at a Networking Meeting? So put the number in the chat, and we shall honour you. So you now have to beat £1,800 if you can. And by the way, we might ask you to give us some evidence of this if it starts getting ridiculously big. £1 million. We need to know how you did that. Ed, give us an anecdote about the most comical experience you had at a networking meeting. What can you remember? I've got one, by the way.
A comical one.
I've got one.
I've got one that sticks in my mind, but it wasn't. It was. I was very early days. I went into it was a BNI meeting. I used to live over in Leamington, Warwick area, and I went into a hotel there and didn't really know what was going on. Trying to get my head around what is this networking thing. First time I'd really sat down for breakfast, and then they said something like, "Oh, such and such is doing the 10-minute talk today," and I didn't even know what a 10-minute talk was in those days. And some guy just slams the table, stands up because you're always picking him, you never pick me. Basically, box, pulled all his business cards out of the box and walked out the door. And I'm looking around, and they're going, "We're really sorry about that." And I'm going, I don't know what's going on. Is this normal or? And I had got no idea what was going on. Big bus stuff in the networking meeting, which was really fun.
Yeah. Fantastic. You do get a bit of that, don't you? It's interesting. I always found these networking meetings were almost a microcosm of society because there was always an alpha male there. You know, there was always a chest beater. You know, interrupt other people's things and ask all the questions. You know, be seen as, and it was usually me actually. I remember something, and that this seemed comical at the time, but on reflection, it isn't really comical. I was at a BNI meeting in Sutton Coldfield, and we were sat round. The way we'd arranged things, the speaker was sitting there, and everybody else was sitting in a circle. And it felt to me like nothing more than an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, right?
Yeah.
Not that I've ever been to one. I've seen a few in movies like it. But this poor lady, she was quite a young lass, I'd say like late 20s kind of thing. She started speaking and she choked up. She couldn't talk. She was so nervous. My name is. And she got up and ran out of the room and puked up in the toilets. It's quite sad, that, isn't it?
Yeah, I've met a few people who have struggled. It's I think if they persevere, if they can get past that and persevere, it really does help people get because you've got to use your voice in business, as I've just stumbled over my own words. But like it just helps bring them forward and out into business, and actually can be the making of some business owners.
I remember she was a travel agent. This lady, one of those they call them travel advisors or something.
Yeah.
That.
It does lead to other things. I mean, I was just telling you earlier because we were joking because we just came online before. I just pointed, I've got there's a go-kart helmet in the background from a talk I've just done. But it only started because of breakfast networking meetings, getting used to standing up talking because you still have to do your 2 minutes, your 10 minutes, whatever it is.
No. I'll tell you what, Jeff. Just on that subject, Jeff's just triggered something that we should talk about here. So let's say, folks, and this is another little project for you to do on the keyboard, please. Let's say you had a 20-second, right, or something like that, or a 10-second. What I want you to do is give us one sentence that you could recite at a networking meeting that would give us clarity on what you actually do and why we should talk to you. This is a really good thing for us to do today because I think we can make some progress here. Because you know your one sentence pitch at a networking meeting is exactly the same thing that's going to inform all your content on social media. It's going to inform the offer that you make, you know, the program that you build. Everything streams from your ability to personally understand and then communicate clearly what it is you do and who it's for. So those two things, right? What it is you do and who it's for. So have a go at that. Fingers on keyboards, folks. I want you to type a golden sentence in the comments that is going to tell me and Ed, Ed and me, whatever. Me and Ed and I. It's going to tell us and the rest of you what it is you do. So if you were standing up right now at a networking meeting and somebody went, "You," what would you say? What would you say? What would be your one sentence pitch?
You need those pain points.
Yeah, I structure it like this, and this is one of the pillars of our training. We call it a golden sentence, and it's in 3 parts. I didn't invent this, but I came across it years ago, and I've adopted it as my own. I help X to do Y so they can Z. I help X to do Y, so they can say so concise that, because you want the people in the room who are the X's, who want Y, to understand why that's important, the Z, and you want to put their hand up and go, I need to talk to you, Jonny. All right. Now, in a networking meeting of 20 people, if you get one or two people who go, I'm that X and I want that Y, so I can do that Z. So I would say, look, I help coaches and therapists to find more of their ideal clients more easily online without paid advertising, so they can build a business of freedom, so they can live a life of freedom and abundance. Yeah. So I help coaches and therapists to find more of their ideal clients more easily without paid advertising, so they can live a life of freedom and abundance. Any coach or therapist in the room listening to that's going to go, need to talk to you, Jonny. Yeah. So it's that golden sentence, I help X to do Y. Jeff Brown is stepping up. Can we get, please, more than Jeff Brown doing this, because this is going to be important, because Ed and I have a look at this with our
emotive word in there as well. That's another tip I'd give, but let's have a look at this first. Sorry.
Yeah. I help people with chronic fatigue to get more energy and better mood using my stress boost energy formula. Do you know what I'd like to see from you, Jeff, is a more specific client avatar? Because the trouble you're going to have online, I'm being Mystic Jonny here, I'm predicting, because we're not having much of an opportunity to have a conversation here today. So I'm going to assume about Jeff that Jeff finds it hard to find people like that, because there's no demographic measure of who those people are. When you're surfing social media, you can't necessarily see that someone's suffering from chronic fatigue, can you? I would say, I help business owners, or I help stressed out senior executives with chronic fatigue. And then you can go and find senior executives on the basis that some of them will be suffering from chronic fatigue. Think about a client demographic for that, Jeff. I think you'll get on a lot better.
Bring up the emotion in there. So I think I would be saying something like, I help exhausted business executives in the local region here who only have dregs of energy left at the end of the working week to spend on their family, even though they'd promised them they were the most important reason why they set up in business.
Yeah. Do you know what? I make a cheeky assumption as well. If I'm standing in a room full of people at a networking meeting, I'd assume that those people are a little bit fragile, that they're like really busy and they fill the day with stuff, because spending 3 or 4 hours at the start of a day at a networking meeting is going to make the rest of your day more hectic and busy, isn't it? So you're really playing to the choir there, preaching to the choir if you say, Jeff, I help business owners just like you guys, right, who are struggling for productivity, struggling to balance their calendars, struggling for time. I help you to overcome the feelings of fatigue and get more energy and better moods. I've got a stress-free energy boosting formula and all that kind of thing. And I would love to talk to any of you who would seek more energy, just like to feel more joy and lightness in their life, And I bet the chairman of the meeting will help you. So, I think I speak for most of us that we're like that, because it is a kind of universal thing. Okay, let's move on to another one. I'll look at this one. I empower ADHD women in life and business. HJM, just add that next bit, so they can, and I'll come back to you later. What's the outcome, in other words, of empowering them? I'll start the networking meeting. Over 80 events. Spent my money on travel, lunch, and dinner. Social gathering, 370 business cards. I think you should wind back this recording and listen to what Ed was saying earlier, David.
I don't have business cards, by the way. I'm renowned for it.
I don't. I'm
there you go. Two of us don't have business cards. So is that what you want, folks?
Yeah. Nadine, I know you well, because this is what we crafted on the CV, wasn't it? Bring stories to life by video, speakers and authors to be seen as the best in their industry. That's a powerful one, isn't it? Let's have a look at this one. I help wonderful women struggling with menopause to cope with symptoms, get their head around the life shift and feel back in control. Now, I think without being too insensitive, you can identify women of a certain age, can't you? When they're around you at a networking meeting, make an assumption. You might, some of the time be wrong, but you could assume that women of a certain age are in menopause. So yeah, that could well be suitable for something you could do at a networking meeting. underpaid and overwhelmed counsellors to fall in love with their practice and take back their life. I think you've missed a bit out there. I think we need a bit of a method, don't we, Alison? I help underpaid and overwhelmed counsellors to so they can fall in love with their practice and take back their life. So the second half of your golden sentence there is a so they can bit. I think you've missed out the bit about what you actually do. You help underpaid and overwhelmed counsellors to, because I know what you do, Alison, because Alison was with us in Arizona last week, right? What Alison does is she helps underpaid and overwhelmed counsellors find more of their ideal clients more easily. So say the words, Alison, baby, say the words. Help career women to heal their anxiety by loving themselves more. I want to see some more detail there. I think it's too vague, Rita. What kind of career women, maybe? What kind of careers might they be in?
Well, the common scenarios that the anxiety shows up in their life would be really interesting. So I'd use that in a pitch. So I help women to overcome the anxiety around. Now I don't know what it might be, but projecting their voice. What is it? Becoming the leader, and learning to love themselves more. If that is what these, I'm just making it. I don't know.
So I think for all of you, we're seeing a picture here. You're all skilled and experienced practitioners. But what's really, really important, in fact, I would say it's the central pillar of your business, is to be able to recite on demand a really compelling answer to the question, what do you do? Right? What do you do? Because what they really mean is, what could you do for me? Yeah. And at the very least, what kind of people do you do it for? So that golden sentence structure, keep this in your minds, guys. I help X to do Y so they can Z. They can do variations of that, but those are the components of it, right? Those are the components of it. And the so they can Z is so it slaps them between their eyes. Ed mentioned earlier in motive language. In the so they can, you can say, as I did earlier, so they can live a life of freedom and abundance. They can live a glorious life of freedom and abundance. Everybody wants that. It sounds enticing, it sounds exciting, doesn't it? And what this golden sentence does, that enables you to perform at networking meetings, which is the subject of today's talk, but also it enables you to inform all your content, all your social profiles, all your emails, all your direct messages along the lines of your golden sentence. So you're absolutely consistent in what you do and who you do it for and why. That's important. So it's not just the answer to the question, what do you do? It's for your own internal mapping, right? So you've got a very clear vision every day when you boot up your computer. You've got a very clear vision of what the hell it is you're actually doing and who you're doing it for, right? That's how important this is. It's fundamental. Most of the focus on enemy fibromyalgia. Yeah, Jeff, what's interesting about that, and I don't know if Ed concurs with me here, and I'll be as direct as I can, whilst, in the spirit of kindness, if you like. Those are tough niches, aren't they? Because oftentimes, people who are distressed and set back by those conditions, they're not particularly thriving in life. There's some exceptions, right? But generally speaking, the community of ME and fibromyalgia are going to be broke. And there's no judgment here. It's just, unfortunately, how a condition like that affects people. God forbid that, that it should happen to anyone, but it does. And oftentimes it's laid their lives low, hasn't it? At least temporarily. Mm-hmm. So the trouble with that, Jeff, if you're trying to establish yourself as a business person, a commercial entity, it's really hard to get paid, isn't it, doing that kind of stuff? So, I'm not saying, turn your back on everything you're doing in life, but it's just an observation. There might be more lucrative niches out there if you could adapt your skills and experience and knowledge to something else. Do you agree with that, Ed? Or do you think that's a bit harsh?
I don't. I very rarely. I'm going to just share something with you. You probably don't know, but when I had my large business, my proper business as I call it, I happened to have ME.
Yeah.
And I was chronically fatigued constantly. So, it cost me all sorts. But in fact, this is it. It cost me a relationship.
Yeah, I remember.
You do, yeah, cool. So it cost me the relationship. I was really sort of struggling in the board meetings and stuff coming at me. I didn't have the energy to go and fall back in and get those reserves. So I would target people in business owners who have got ME. I know one who's got fibromyalgia. She's struggling massively, but they're business owners, and I would just target them. There's not tons and tons of them, but they are out there.
Yeah. So I help business owners. I help business owners recover from the challenges of ME and fibromyalgia, and so they can thrive again. That kind of thing.
Find those inner resources and energy to go and tackle stuff because they don't feel they've got it at the moment.
Facebook uses emotional freedom therapy and read this for light workers healers. You see, again, there's no "so they can" there, is there? So that's a silver sentence at best, around the golden sentence. The golden sentence would need to include the concept of why that matters, because all that is Facebook user, and again, no judgment. This is done with the utmost love and respect for you. All that is your online CV. Yeah, that's all about you, isn't it? Why does that matter? What do light workers, if I remember what they are, I can't remember what they are. What do light workers, healers, and spiritual seekers want that for?
Yeah, so the energy healers aren't known light workers, but because I come from health practice as well, don't I? You may not remember.
Yeah, we've all dabbled with that sort of stuff. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier. To tease out of somebody what excites you about your work. Can it help folks like me?
This is really interesting because that line there, that is not going to lead to a sale, which is cool. You don't have to go and sell at a networking meeting, but if you are going to go and get business, that line there will actually scupper your chances of getting a sale.
Yeah,
because they'll want to sell to you, and you've already then set the relationship and the tone. And to get back to the side where they now see you potentially as an answer, you've drifted away from it. So it's not a good line.
I would probably drop the "how can it help folks like me," but what excites you about your work is potentially leading to a valuable discussion, isn't it? Hello, Gregory. I'm talking to Gregory in a little while, I believe. I network marketer with health and wellness company. Find people shy away. Yeah, they do, don't they? Network marketing is like the pariahs of networking meetings, ironically. Both got the same word in them. I don't have a fast answer for that, except to say, what people get from it. That golden sentence, "I like to do Y so they can Z." You could easily adapt that to a networking meeting. Sorry, to a network marketing business, couldn't you? To say, what the really important thing is. Because I think network marketers miss that. But the other horrible thing that network marketers do, Ed, is I can never pronounce it, they obfuscate, don't they? They hide the fact that they're actually a network marketer by saying they're an independent business owner, and this kind of thing. I think you should wear it like a jacket, wear it like a badge. If you're a network marketer, you want people to know you're a network marketer, so that if they're interested in network marketing, then they'll gravitate towards you. The reason network marketing's got a bad rap is that they're trying to sell to everybody, and most of the population is not interested.
Describing it in terms of the pain points will get you around this whole issue. So I don't. Let's use. I don't know what you do. Please don't tell me, because otherwise. If it's like aloe vera, well, aloe vera is really good for like gut health, for example, which is a real core bit of health for every human being. So just don't tell them that it's part of some franchise aloe vera. Just say,
I help people heal their guts, but also I train people to run their own businesses as well, in helping other people to heal their guts. So I should tell them, yes, exactly, HJM. I create a safe space for healing with crystals and Reiki. Not decided on these yet. Okay, come back to us when you have. Ed says Wendy Norman.
Hello.
Wendy is one of my favourite people on earth. She's a model of resilience and positivity, and she's a lovely lady.
She's an amazing story. She's an amazing lady.
No, because it's a psychological game. It probably is, like most things we do. I help spoonies. Hey, who's a spoonie? When you befuddle me for it, to have the confidence strategies to build a business so they're not relying on
I can, any bugger can.
pit payments. If I can, any bugger can. Come back to who they were spoody is. You've lost me on that one. I help individuals to enjoy peace of mind in situations beyond their control, enjoy a better relationship with themselves and others. Yeah, again, what we've got here is you've missed the Y. I help X. Sorry, you missed the X. I help X to do Y. Individuals isn't an X. Individuals is 8 billion people on this blue marble, right? Tell us about who you help, because people need to see themselves in your golden sentence. You see, one of the keys to getting people drawn towards you is to filter the audience in front of you. Let's say there's 20 people at a networking meeting. There ain't 20 clients there in a month of Sundays. There might be one or two. So you've got to get those one or two to step out and say, I'm one of those people, right? So just work on that, David. What kind of individuals, what kind of people, right? Of the Akashic records. Is that a label?
Oh, I wish.
Wasn't Stevie Wonder on Akashic records?
Late 60s, but I think he moved records. No, Akashic records are really interesting. That's for another day.
Yeah. So there you are, Greg, about 2% of the adult population. So I would wager that they're amongst that 2% is firmly amongst the least financially viable people in the whole country. Right, they're in the lower income categories. So if you're going to build a business around it, this is the point I'm making. We need to niche down within the population of people who got fibromyalgia and say helping business owners with fibromyalgia, like Ed was years ago. Because Ed, I imagine you would have at least had a conversation with somebody who said they could help with it, wouldn't you?
Oh, I was already looking for answers. If somebody just popped up and said, I think I might have an answer to your chronic fatigue, I'd have been like, yep, here's some money. And I'd have thrown huge sums at you to sort it.
Yeah. So Israel Rita, yes, we're sharpening that up, aren't we? I help women 40 plus heal from anxiety, loving themselves. The reason we're doing this, folks, is to put it in context. We're asking the question, networking not working? And if not, you need to be, one of the first things you need to do is be armed with your golden sentence, right? I help X to do Y, so they can Z. So spoon is big with, okay, autoimmune disease, right? Now I know. Why didn't I know that before? I should have known that before, shouldn't I? Autoimmune, yeah. All right. People are scared they've pitched hard to join MLM and sell the product. If you just sell the benefits that resonate, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I know that's the thing, isn't it? It's actually quite hard to buy a product from an MLMer without getting sucked into the whole vortex of becoming an independent business owner yourself. I must admit, the lady who sold me my doTERRA essential oils made it very, very hard for me just to enjoy my essential oils. I was getting 3 emails a day after I bought them. Right. You know what I mean? That's why it's got a bad name, isn't it? I help mid-career professionals across a range of different work disciplines, university students, to do what so they can what. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, if we overlaid that with your earlier one, David, I think we've got the makings of a golden sense, haven't we? My sister's fibromyalgia is a highly paid nuclear engineer. Yeah.
There you
go.
There you go.
That's the point, isn't it? But because not everybody is a highly paid nuclear engineer, that's the reason that the general population of people with fibromyalgia aren't highly paid nuclear engineers either. So with both those things in place, i.e. your dear sister with fibromyalgia and the fact that she is a highly paid scientist engineer, you could have a viable niche then, couldn't you? You know, with scientists and engineers, for example, clinicians, with fibromyalgia. Yeah, okay. Well, do you know what? I think we have got somewhere today, haven't we? So, Ed, do you want to just remind us of your core approach when you meet somebody at a networking meeting? What's your, how do you open them up and get them to be potential buyers of your stuff?
So you only want to understand their pain points, and that's all you want them to talk about. Do not try and get your emotional needs met in a networking meeting. So walk in there. When people ask you what you do, avoid the question. Just say, "Oh, you wouldn't be interested in that. What do you do?" get them talking, go, and whatever they say, because you've done a little bit of homework on them, go, oh, wow, that must be fantastic, because, I imagine you've got, and then talk about 3 pain point areas where it's hurting them, and then they'll sit down and they'll say something like, oh, crikey, I wish it was like that, but now you've got the basis for a conversation. They'll always then ask you again, so what is it that you do? You go, well, would you believe me if I said that I help accountants, in this instance we talked about earlier, do, and the 3 things you've just talked about, the 2 things they've now volunteered as their pain point, and they look at you and they go, we should talk, and they always go, yeah, go, great. Have you got your diary there? And you've got your first appointment.
Yeah, exactly.
So, don't talk about yourself. It's them. It's their pain point. It's their meeting. Don't worry about. I don't have to tell them what to do or who I am.
So that's the lesson summary, Ed. That's absolutely wonderful. I'm so glad you joined us today. Tease out of them their pain points, 3 pain points, if you want to be strategic about it and build a process for yourself. And then just suggest we should talk. When they agree with that, book the appointment while you're standing with them. That's absolutely brilliant. On a wider note, when you're talking to the crowd, if you like, and you get the chance for your 40-second pitch, make bloody sure you've got your golden sentence in your pocket and you can recite it.
Well, now, you see, if you don't want to turn your prospects off. So if you've booked a couple of appointments, when you stand up for your 2-minute pitch or whatever it is, and they go, what do you do? You stand up and you go, I help accountants and painters and and then you repeat the pain problems they've just told you about, and everybody else in the room will go, well, that sounds a bit weird, but 3 people or 2 people you've booked in the room are going, oh, can't wait to meet him next week. Now, if you've got 2 clients
from some momentum, then, doesn't it?
You went to, you have a very successful business inside of 2 months.
That's fantastic, isn't it? I'm just going to let Wendy have the last word. So, Ed, off a cake. These are push.
Wendy, it has to be Simnel cake in Norwich in your office, Wendy.
Get a room muted. Well, listen, on that high note, on that cake bombshell, I think we'll leave it for this afternoon. David has just dropped another comment here. I was hoping to meet pilots, medical professionals, but never met one. Networking meetings can work, but they only work. They'll only be as smart for you as you are smart for them. Right? If you show up all over the bloody place with no plan, with no strategy, then like anything else you do in life or in marketing or anything at all, it ain't gonna work. So put a plan together, walk in there with your chest puffed out and go and help some people, and it will work. Ed, it's been an absolute delight. Spend some time with you again, my friend. There you are.
Yeah, that's right for me.
That's it. This thing mirrors, but it's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you all for sticking out this afternoon. If that's been useful, give us a like wherever you are on social media. Give us a thumb, give us some hearts, please. We thrive on your energy, and then a whole bunch of your colleagues will get to see this thing later on today in the recording. So we'll see you all next week. Love you lots. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye now.